Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you about 5 more things I hate in Call of Duty Warzone. Today's gameplay is mostly me struggling to survive in the sweatiest, most impossible fight I have ever been in, soloing multiple squads, surviving multiple airstrikes, rezzing, and just being as crazy as a person as I possibly can. I felt like an action hero when this was finally over, but then we'll have some more stuff at the end. The video was recorded before the big patch that just came out, so I kind of hope I don't actually... I hope they fix everything and I have to re-record this whole commentary. That just seems unlikely. As per the feedback from the last video, I invested in a new pop filter for my microphone, so hopefully that helps the quality a little bit. And I wanted to be very clear up front in the beginning of this video that I do like Warzone a lot. Like, a lot. This isn't a hate video, this isn't a Call of Duty is awful video. Right now, Warzone is my favorite multiplayer game to play. I'm constantly playing it, streaming it, testing things, trying to max min, learn new strategies. So everything I have to say is only because I care about Warzone. If I didn't care about this mode, if it meant nothing to me, if it was boring, if it was like, yeah, I'll play it for a couple of weeks and then whatever, I just wouldn't make videos like this. And also, going after hackers and lag in general is a little bit too easy. We are going to talk about lag today, but hackers, unfortunately, are an endemic problem to literally every single battle royale that I have ever played. PUBG had crazy bad hackers, Chinese primarily, that turned into like a whole like race and racism issue. Fortnite had all sorts of hacking. Apex had a lot of aimbots and hacking. Every game that's on PC is going to have hacking, and I totally do empathize with console players that don't want crossplay because they don't want to deal with hackers, but crossplay is just an absolute godsend for playing with friends. So number 5 on my list today is climbing rocks is almost impossible for absolutely no reason. Modern Warfare invested so much work into a really useful and deep mantling system. There are so many parkour routes and jump spots and little areas to climb and learn and make use of. I'm still learning all of these routes. As a matter of fact, I'm actually working on a jump spots video for Warzone so that more of you can make use of these. But the problem is, for the life of me, I can't climb over a little 2-foot tall rock. The even relatively flat rocks that looked like they'd be a nice ledge to grab on, you can't, because the flat 90-degree wall surface is like 85 degrees or something, and you can only grab a perfect 90-degree edge, and that's very, very frustrating. It makes me feel like I'm back in Skyrim. And I've just received a quest that tells me to go to the other side of the mountain to fight a dragon. And I said, well, you know what? Walking around the mountain takes a long time. How about I go over it and I'll spend like 2 hours trying to go over the mountain? Or maybe the same kind of thing in Fallout New Vegas or any of the Fallout games. It's very problematic and it feels broken compared to the other aspects of the mantling system. Sometimes this not being able to climb up rocks is just mildly annoying because it makes me look dumb, because I can't move around on stream, because I'm wasting time and I like going fast or whatever. But other times, not being able to climb is the difference between life and death. If I'm getting squeezed by the storm and the only way to get safe and not, die to the gas is by climbing a rock face, well, I'm screwed. If a package lands kind of goofy and I need to get halfway up the rock, so I'm screwed there. Or if a team is above us and we need to move uphill fast or with some kind of cover or maybe take a good flank route, well, too bad. The rocks are, they're 3 feet high. You can't climb over those. So that's very frustrating. It's like a very special skill in this game to see people parkour like little mountain goats. I don't know how some people do it, but for the most part you can't. And I think what happened here is that the Battle Royale map design team and the systems team, specifically whoever made the mantling, did not have a meeting about these rocks. They just assumed that mantling is for videos and rocks are rocks. So everything is mantleable except for the stupid rocks and the terrain features, which to me is very, very frustrating. Number 4, I think that Warzone encourages thirsting like no other Battle Royale that I have ever seen. I thought Blackout was bad about this because of how quickly you could res people and, permadeathing them was a priority. But Warzone is worse. So any Battle Royale game that you play will have knocks and kills. You knock a person, they're down, they're a crawler, and then you kill them for good, and in this case, maybe send them to the gulag. Usually, after knocking somebody, they are absolutely useless, and if you're on the enemy team, rezzing them is dangerous to you. So what I used to do, and still do in other Battle Royale games, is that I'll knock as many people as I can and use them as bait, or shoot them once every now and then to add pressure to see if I can force the other teammate to do something risky and make a mistake. And in this situation, there wasn't really much pressure to kill people that were downed. They were largely ignorable. So if you just thirsted people that were down for no reason, or if you down somebody and then mid-fight while somebody else is shooting you, you go to just completely permadeath them, it was called BM or bad manners. A lot of people complained about it. And it was just generally poor gaming etiquette to thirst down people for no reasons. I mean, if they're in the open, you have nothing to do, but mid-gunfight, there was no reason to do it. And it was even harder when you had no respawns. And honestly, it wasn't even a good tactic. It was kind of like crab bucket behavior. Like, if you're going down, I'm going to drag somebody else down with me. However, Warzone encourages this kind of behavior for a couple of reasons. Number one is that there are no invulnerability frames. I think Blackout had the same with this, but PUBG and Fortnite, and I think even Apex have a few brief invulnerability frames, so you can't just full auto somebody that's down. You'll waste your bullets. But as far as I'm aware, there's no invulnerability frames here. You can just hold down the trigger and just insta-perma-dead people. But most importantly, it's because anybody could have a self-res. Apex Legends has the gold shield, so you can tell really easily if they're going to self-res or not, and it's really loud. But Warzone has no indicator at all. A guy that's downed and a guy that's down but has self-res in his pocket look identical to each other, and you can't tell until one person starts sticking himself and rezzing. The animation isn't very distinct, it's not colorful, it's not unique. It makes a little bit of noise, but honestly, in a big chaotic gunfight, it's very likely that you would not notice it. And what that means is that the safest thing for any player to do is to finish off all of their kills instantly so nobody self-reses and surprises you later on. But what that leads to is a lot of needless thirsting against teams that just have regular people with no self-reses and go down. So when I'm playing Warzone and I get downed, I just like, well, I'm done. I'm going to get insta-thirsted. I'm headed straight for the gulag. That's GG. There's almost not really a reason to have a down feature unless you're lucky enough to go down behind cover, like you get sniped or something. And the third thing. Almost forgot the third thing. You can still ping while you're down. And I know that down people in other games would be making callouts that usually just increases pressure, but having somebody ping me so that there's a permanent little red dot above my head, not a fan of. I do not like when enemies know where I'm at, and it just sort of forces a very different sort of survival meta, primarily with thirsting and downing being the smartest thing to do, which I find annoying. I just find it a little bit annoying. Maybe I'm just like being an old boomer gamer stuck in my ways. I want to go back to Fortnite and PUBG where BMing really was bad manners, but it gets to me a little bit. Number 3 today is inconsistent connections, or generally speaking, lag. I didn't want to talk about lag that much, but it is kind of a problem. In general, I don't actually lag that much in Warzone, at least compared to some other people. I'm very blessed to have gigabit internet here at my house. It's one of the few luxuries that I pay for with my YouTube money, and it helps me work, which is quite nice, and stream and all sorts of stuff. And I also live in a big city, and I live close to a big cluster of dedicated servers, but I still get laggy games, just inconsistently. My ping can vary probably 100 to 150 milliseconds in one single match, and packet loss can be all over the place too for no reason. So Battle Royale servers are hard to host. We know this. There's a lot of people. Having choppy and laggy games is annoying, but it's just kind of part of the package you get. And when this happened not only in Warzone, but in other Battle Royale games, I can just easily back out of them. Well, I'm like, well, if the server's having a bad day, I can just back out and reboot it and rerun it again, and it'll be just fine. However, lag becomes a problem when it happens inconsistently during a match that I've already committed to and I don't want to back out of. Lag spikes in the first 2 minutes of the game just indicate that this game's not for me and I'll just back out and run it again. But lag spikes with 15 people left alive is absolutely no fun at all, or even 30 or 50 or whatever, because you've already put some time into that game. Having other players lag different amounts instead of the whole server being similar is also weird and problematic. That means that I could have, if I'm playing in a squad, I could have my 3 friends lagging like crazy and I'm fine, or me and one of them could lag and the other 2 are fine, and it doesn't make any sense because you would think when the server lags, then everybody in the server would kind of lag about the same, but that's not really the case. Everybody's lag is a little bit different and a little bit all over the place. Similarly, if you run into a laggy enemy, that can be really bad. A laggy enemy could melt you super fast or have super bullets, or my bullets might not register on them, and it leads to a lot of inconsistency in my gunfights and unpredictability in them as well. That's a synonym, that's the same word. It's one of the reasons why I, and I think many other players, prefer super high DPS guns and super fast firing guns, because I can't depend on any other kind of trading. If I'm taking out the Odin or something and the Odin drops a bullet while it just doesn't register a bullet, while I'm screwed. Or if I have 30 rounds in my AUG and 10 of them don't register for whatever reason, I'm screwed, and the guy with the 60 round MP7 is just going to spray me down. So that's why some of these weapons are so popular, because they kind of help defeat these lag trades. Number 2 today is a catch-all for me. There are lots of small bugs that can really mess me up mid-game. There's the no healing bug. That's the one I get pretty commonly, where you can't put in any plates, or sometimes even your regular health just doesn't heal for whatever reason. I swap my guns, I prone out, I do a lot of different things. Sometimes it's permanent, sometimes it's just stuck all match, but it usually works in a little bit. I've had bugs where I can't reload my weapons, ammo disappearing, sights that don't work right. That's usually in some combination with the glass. There are weapons that change after you pick them up. Like the other day, I saw this beautiful AUG 5.56 on the ground and went to pick it up and it turned into an MP5, and I'm like, oh, I must have grabbed the wrong gun, so I just dropped it, picked up a different one, and it turned into an AUG again, back on the ground. Or in some cases, it literally turns into a dog. I've seen floating dogs that say press X to pick up MP7 or something like that. I've had glitches where I can't crouch or prone that's gotten me killed a few times because I couldn't take cover. Audio is still all over the place in terms of glitchiness and quality. I do admit that it's getting better. The audio in Blackout now is a lot better than it was at launch. Some of this is me getting more used to it, and others just like genuine improvements. And it's a little bit difficult to throw that criticism in there because I know people pop dead silence, and I do too, but audio is inconsistent, to say the least. There's still a few parachute bugs hanging around, not as many as there used to be, and just lots of little small bugs. I don't know why there's so many, and even to be honest, in a video filled with complaints, they don't happen to me that often. The problem is that in a battle royale game, little bugs like this are very, what's the right word, costly. Since every fight is an all or nothing, since every single battle is everything you've got to survive and move on to the next stage, any small bug of not reloading or can't crouch or no healing or something is just a major disaster for you. Little problems like this are ignorable in base multiplayer when I'm just going to die and respawn and run at the B flag again, but if I've played 25 minutes of this battle royale game and really committed myself to surviving and looting and doing all this stuff, and I get killed because I can't aim down sights for some weird goofy reason, well, that's a really big problem. I've lost a lot more there, which is why these little bugs hurt me so much. Again, overall, I don't get them too often, but they do get me really, really tilty when they do happen. Last up today is something that absolutely can't be fixed and won't change, and is almost part of the magic of this game, and that's that vertical fights are very painful and also very common. About half of the map is crazy tall vertical buildings that are near impossible to take by pushing or fight the people on top of. You just kind of have to wait for the storm to close around them and push them off the top of the buildings to move the people. Airstrikes and cluster strikes don't really do very much anymore because of the warnings you get. They're very easy to dodge and get out of the way. If I airstrike a building, I'm very rarely going to kill anybody. Javelins are good. Javelins do a good job. They can definitely hammer buildings. They're a little bit niche, you know, they're a little bit specialized and a little bit wonky to work, so don't run them all the time, but they are an effective counter to this. But there's no counter to the map itself. The entire downtown area is just scary rooftop snipers and death. I literally never go to it's like one of my personal rules when playing Warzone. I avoid going downtown at all costs. That is my least favorite place to be on the entire map. The apartments by the mill base are really high and elevated. That one big apartment complex that overlooks Burgertown and the buy station, very hard to fight against. Promenade East and West both have several very large elevated buildings that you can get into and hold down the smaller buildings around it. And even a lot of the fights in areas around the airport are very, very elevated. When I play Battle Royale games, or especially COD type games where you can't fly and stuff, I typically avoid fighting in those areas and stick to mostly 2D type engagements like farmland or boneyard, where you're really topping out at 2 stories or maybe 3 if some guy climbs on a roof or something. And we have parkour that helps us climb and get elevation, and there's some neat little things, but we don't have grapple hooks. We don't have launch pads, and helicopters are kind of a death sentence these days. So when somebody's camping on top of that super tall building downtown, it's really, really, really hard to push up the ladder or the stairs or the zip line or do anything to get them off. It's probably by design, since the lead multiplayer designer at launch told me they wanted to put power positions in the game to make people fight over them. And that makes sense, and it is more... Warzone is more mil-sim, like PUBG-ish, than Blackout is a bit silly with flying and, you know, ziplining and stuff. But it still frustrates me a lot. It makes me feel weak and helpless to rooftop campers. It makes me feel like, well, I'm just dead. Well, I walked into an area and there was 3 people on the roof and there was nothing I can do about it. That's a rip. I don't know, maybe I should just get good. Maybe I should just get good to solve a lot of these problems. I don't know, but I find Vertical fights are really rough. When people are on top of an apartment or something, like I'll get a bounty. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna complete this bounty. I'm gonna go push these dudes on this apartment and kill them. And I've been murdered so many times trying to push up the stairs. If I get a bounty and I see the teams camping an apartment, I probably just won't even go for it because it's impossible. Guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something useful, maybe, if nothing else, but about my opinions, a few of the problems in Warzone. I hope that some of these get worked on. Some of them are just kind of baked into the game and can't. Some of them could be fixed. I just want to see the game be great because it's super fun to play. I hope all of you still have fun playing it despite my complaints. And if you enjoyed this kind of content, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Drifter out.